because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, Sikagui, Nasibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now in studio this hour, Waya co-founders David Wachira and Hempstone Maroria will be talking about their recent launch and better ways of transacting money to Kenya and the rest of Africa and their new digital banking initiative. Want you to stay tuned for that and more. I'm your politics anchor Ali Badawy, and it's Friday, the 23rd of September, and we're coming to you live from Kilimanjaro studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to subscribe to our OneMic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. On panel with me tonight is Mr. OneMic Kamakawa. We have our resident DJ OmoshFaya, who's here but not here. Ruth is also in studio tonight, and Micah will be joining us via Zoom. And without much further ado, we are going to get started right away. Now, do you have memories of how you sent money back home, let's say some 20, 15, or even 10 years ago? Now, the last 20 years has seen an exponential growth in the volume of money being remitted back home by Kenyans living in the U.S. Now, the most recent annual report from the Central Bank of Kenya indicates that Kenyans remitted over $3.7 billion in 2021. That's more than tenfold. That's more than a tenfold increase from when remittances were recorded 2 decades ago. Now, with this growth, we've also seen a proliferation of new services and platforms. We have also seen a shift from storefronts to the web and onto phone applications. Now, costs over time have reduced but still remain a big concern. There's, however, been challenges with integrating into payment systems outside specific mobile wallets. It has also not been easy for businesses to find seamless ways of charging for services. Now in studio with us tonight to talk about the latest entrants in the digital banking and money transfer space are co-founders of money remittance service Waya. Now we're going to start from across from me. I have Dr. David Wachira. Now David is a public finance specialist and a fintech entrepreneur. He previously served as the World Bank at the World Bank as a public finance specialist, managing and supporting multi-billion-dollar programs across 38 countries. Now, David is a co-founder and currently serving as Waya's Chief Operating Officer. David, karibu sana to the OneMic Show.
Asante sana.
Okay, and how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very well.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
This is your first time in Kilimanjaro studios.
It
I'm
is
ushakuja huko before.
No, first time in Kilimanjaro, but studios, but not the first time to the actual mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Very good. And I know a lot of our listeners, from what I'm seeing here, some already know you. So that's a good thing.
Hopefully by good reputation.
Definitely. Only good things being said here. And then we also have the other co-founder in studio, Maroria Hempstone. Now, Maroria is a fintech professional with experience in mobile payments, e-commerce, and disruptive technologies. Now, Maroria previously founded CB Group, which is a digital technology company that enables corporates in sub-Saharan Africa leverage digital media. He currently serves as Waya's CEO. Now, Maroria, to our viewers who are maybe seeing you for the first time, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Okay. And just tell us, like one or two things quickly about yourself, because for some of our viewers here, they're saying they're seeing you for the first time. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Wonderful. Yeah, so my name is Hempstone Maroria, and just like you mentioned, I'm a fintech founder. I'm a software engineer by background, born and bred in Nairobi, Kenya, grown up in different parts of Kenya. Went to school in Dedan Kimathi University, pursuing IT. And I'm passionate about building solutions to problems, and that's why we're here. And thanks so much for hosting us.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, to our viewers who might be hearing about Waya for the first time, amesikia Waya, Waya has been trending, like in Kenyan spaces, on Twitter, Clubhouse, like Facebook. Talk to us. Tell them, for those who are hearing about Waya for the first time, tell them what Waya is.
Yeah, so Waya is, the financial partner for the African diaspora, and, we are here to break the barriers and unlock, financial barriers that a lot of the African diaspora are experiencing here in the U.S., especially when it comes to opening bank accounts, transacting, and, being able to send money back home. And, coming from Kenya, one of the most advanced financial technology countries in the world, with our innovation M-Pesa, we wanted to bring M-Pesa functionalities to the African diaspora. And this is one of the reasons why we created Waya. So Waya is a digital bank for the African diaspora. So we enable the diaspora open checking accounts here in the US, be able to transact, using the Waya banking app here in the US. We give them debit cards, we give them different other financial tools for them to be able to transact and being able to send money back home.
So basically, this is more of a digital banking service. It's not just money transfer is just one of the aspects that Waya will be offering, but it's a digital banking service.
Yes, so Waya is a digital bank, and for those here in the US, think about us as an interjection between, and I'll not mention brands, between your favorite money transfer app that currently exists and Cash App or Venmo and others, So we actually are a bank licensed here in the US through our banking partners. So we actually offer checking accounts, that you're able to transact, start earning your salaries into the account. We offer you ability to send money domestically here in the US. So think about bill payments, think about being able to send money to other domestic bank accounts. And beyond that, we also enable you to send money to others. So think about if I'm on Waya, you're on Waya, David is on Waya, we can transact within Waya without having to, get out of our ecosystem. So we are building an embedded financial service for the African diaspora. And David will talk a bit more about, why we started Waya and some of the pain points that led us to, starting Waya.
Okay, asante sana David, and I want to welcome all the listeners. I can see a lot of listeners here have come in. Na kuna listeners hapo wanasema, sijui move to the mic closer kidogo, you're going to check that board. And then you're also going to move the mics a bit closer ndo wasikilizaji wapate kuwasikia vizuri sana. And of course, there's a lot that we'll be digesting today. I can see there's people already on the phone. Some people have questions. But David, I want to come to you. And I want to talk to you from a diaspora Kenyan context. I know this is a service that's targeting African immigrants across the board, but from a Kenyan context, why do you feel that we are underserved in the American banking context? Because you've talked about that a lot, you've written about that. Why do you feel we're underserved as African immigrants are in the US? Because from a personal perspective, I look at banking services as ability to open a checking account in a bank that's maybe close to where I live. But what exactly is it that maybe we are getting underserved on that we might not be realizing?
Okay, David. Good question. Yeah. So the traditional banking, the Chase, the Bank of America, and so forth. The groups that they target are not immigrants, and particularly not African immigrants. And this is from experiences that we ourselves underwent while living and working here. So, for example, I've been in the US for a very long time. I came as a student, as an F1 visa. When I came at that particular time, it was very difficult for me to open a bank account. Why? Simply because I didn't have a social security number.
Yes.
So it is very difficult for someone who doesn't have a social security number, which is a big number. Think of the 5.8 million students who are in American universities. 28% of the US students are immigrants. The vast majority of them who come here on F1 visas are not given a social security number. And so they are left to fringe banking or able to open bank accounts in a very difficult way. That was my particular perspective. So just to give you an example, I had a stipend. I was being given a scholarship. So it came with a monthly stipend, which I couldn't cash because I didn't have a bank account. And not only I couldn't cash it, my university was only doing direct deposit. And because I didn't have a place for them to direct deposit the money, I had a very hard time accessing the stipend that was being given. It was only with the relationship that my university had with a small bank that I was able to open a bank account without it, without a social security number. But eventually, I had to actually get a letter from my university to take to the Social Security Administration to give me a social security number, because they had to withhold taxes. So these are conversations that people are having and experiencing on a day-to-day basis. not just in terms of opening bank accounts, but they actually, when I mean by underserved, I think of someone like my mom who has been banking at Wells Fargo for years, 11 years. And then when it came for her to want to get a mortgage with my dad as parents, they go in, they have a high credit score, but Wells Fargo denies them. No reason behind it. But now you come to find out from the newspaper articles that Wells Fargo was just marginalizing people from not only immigrants, but people of color, and putting them in one particular mold, and they were not giving them mortgages. And these are the challenges that immigrants face when we say that their lack of access to financial services, is that the average immigrant is, even if they have a bank account, sometimes are largely underserved from that particular aspect. And we're coming in and saying, look, we understand your pain points because we are immigrants. We face those particular struggles as immigrants. We know what it is to be denied access to financial services, and we want to do something better. And there are 44 million immigrants in the United States today who are one way or another facing these challenges, whether it is access to open bank accounts or minimum deposit requirements, which 29% of immigrants say is one of the reasons why they don't have proper access to a bank account, is because they can't meet the minimum deposit requirements. We're coming and saying, we'll make it easier for you to open an account. You can do that in 2 to 3 minutes on our platform. We do not need minimum deposit requirements. And even later on down the line, within a few months, being able to say, hey, nyinyi watu ambao wana makaratasi and people without SSNs, you can now actually open a bank account on our platform using a different form of ID, like your passport or your driving license, and you don't need an SSN.
Wow, that's very interesting, especially the you don't need SSN part. This is something that those of us who've lived in the US for a long time sometimes don't sit to think about a lot, but especially new people coming in here, no SSN, this becomes a big issue. And I see a lot of comments are coming in. Slay here is asking, can we open a checking account from anywhere in the US, and how do we go about it? I think that we're gonna get to that part on how to access the WAYAPAY platform. And then we also have another listener, Ulrika Bernard, who really likes, what Dr. David Wachira has said, to the point where she said, well, damn, dude with a Nikanon turban sounding sexy, the accent, I love it. Yeah, so don't be surprised when you start seeing inboxes coming your way. So at this point, I also want to introduce, the other panelists that I have, and one of the first people that I want to introduce here is Micah. I'm not sure if Micah is already live and connected to us. Micah, unatusikia?
I'm hearing you loud and clearly.
All right, thank you so much, Micah. So Salimia viewers, and just continue with the conversation from where I've left off. I know you had a couple of questions you had that you wanted to ask the panelists. So Micah, twende kazi.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to this weekend's edition of Happy Hours, where today, as you can see, we are trying to make sure that when you send that money home, it goes back secure, goes back safe, and we have something that works for you. And to our guest today, I want to say karibuni. Welcome to OneMic show. It's always a pleasure to always putting our own in front of us and allowing them to showcase what they can do to us for the community. So my question is, as somebody who works in the technical space also, I just wanted to ask, one of the most fears, especially when it comes to online banking, among so many people, is the cybersecurity aspect of it, especially with important customer data. And in this situation whereby we are asking most of our people who don't have the social security, who are not into that immigration space that they would want to be, to come and register themselves somewhere like a huge database. How protected is this information for your users? Because it will, I'm sure most people will fear the fact of putting their information or putting themselves out there to be in a vulnerability, to be vulnerable. And also, what are some of the measures that you put in place to protect the financial aspect of your customers, especially when they link their bank accounts to you?
All right, back to studio. So I'm not sure who of the two of you wants to talk about that, the data security part.
We'll let the techie do it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that great question. First and foremost, I think data privacy and information security is very important to us. First, as an organization, as individuals, and of course, being a fintech, as a fintech. And I may have to note that one of our early stage investors that invested in us was IBM, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with IBM. So early on, when David and I started the company back in 2019, we were incubated by IBM through the IBM Accelerator Program. It's called the IBM Hyperprotect Accelerator Program, and this was primarily for the data security and privacy aspects to it. And I may have to mention that our service is hosted on the most secure cloud infrastructure, the IBM Hyperprotect Cloud. So from a data privacy security, we've taken a lot of measures for us to be able to to make sure that the data and security of our users is well taken care of. And beyond that, being a bank and a financial institution here in the US, we have had to undergo a lot of information security checks and build our platform in a way that complies to all the laws and regulations that govern digital banks and banks in general here in the US. And one of the things that we are currently doing, actually an exercise that is currently undergoing, is vulnerability scanning and penetration tests. So this is a requirement by the federal government here in the US that for you to be able to allow external users to access your service and open bank accounts digitally through your platform, you should be able to show that your system cannot be penetrated and it does not have any vulnerabilities. These are things that are conducted by third parties who are internationally renowned partners, and we're working with leading partners across the world to make sure that we look into these things. Beyond that, from a privacy perspective, and I'll give an example of Cash App or Venmo. We are riding on the rails of the same partners that Venmo, Cash App, and even other third-party, other financial platforms use. So I'm sure most of you that have used apps here in the US are familiar with Plaid. PLAID, which lets you log into your bank securely from a third-party application. Plaid is one of the leading technology companies that has connected about 99.9% of all the banks here in the US, and we've been able to partner with companies like Plaid, companies like MasterCard, through our banking partners, are the providers of our cards. So ideally here is to say that we have built Wire and the Wire app, with global standards in mind. And we have gotten a lot of support from, our banking partners, our technology partners, and special thanks to IBM, who at some point has employed developers to work very closely with our engineers, who I will actually proudly say that a big team of our technology team is based out of Kenya. And we've had engineers from MIT, from Duke University, work with our engineers to just make sure that the data privacy and information security is, world class. So, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. That goes to show that your data will be very secure. That's always a big concern with everything that's been happening around the world. So thank you so much, Maroria, for that. A couple of comments coming in here. There's a proud wife who's tuned in. Her name is Cecil Wachira. I wonder whose wife that is. But very proud, tuned in. And then we also have Kenyan Jui. There was a question that was previously raised regarding FDIC insurance, and I think people want to know if this man is FDIC insured and where the business is legally registered. Is it the US or is it in Kenya?
Yeah. Good question. So the business is registered in the US. We are a US-based business. We also do have registration in Kenya, but we are registered here in the US, actually in the state of Virginia and Delaware. And yes, the money is member FDIC. So our banking partners carry that over to us. So we're insured just like any other bank account is, up to the limit, which is $250,000. So member FDIC. So that's also part of the protections that Hempstone was alluding to earlier, is that opening a bank account with us is no different as opening a bank account with Chase or Bank of America. The same protections and legal regulations that you have to go through to do that at Bank of America, Chase, are the same ones that we have to undergo, and slightly sometimes even a little bit more because we are a fintech. So whether it's our cybersecurity insurance, whether it is the pen test and vulnerability scannings that we have to do, there's a significant amount of work. As you probably had Hempstone mentioned, we started this company in 2019, April of 2019. Why are we releasing it in October 1st of 2022? What have we been doing for the past 3.5 years? The past 3.5 years have been spent building these foundations, whether it's due diligence, KYC, know your customer, anti-money laundering, all these particular things put into place. That way, to kuja when you, hey, open this account, people are not, there's no worry about it when it comes to it. We want it to be right on integrity first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. And I want to go to the rest of the panel, and we also
Ali.
have Ruth in studio.
Ali.
Yes. So Micah, Micah, you had a question?
I didn't have a question. I just want to say I was actually talking and I was actually speaking in mute. And one thing I want to say to Hempstone is that of all the people we've interviewed here and we've asked that question about data security, you are the only person who has ever explained it step by step and actually given an explanation on how you're securing somebody's data. I just want to say that as somebody who's in the same field as you, I'm super proud and glad that for once I've found somebody who answered that question in a more, not only just technical way, but in a way whereby it was technical, but a layman will understand how much the data is protected. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for that.
Okay. All right. That's good. Now we want to get to, ways of accessing your services. And we have Ruth in studio. Leo studio imejaa kidogo. Ruth is on the other side. But Ruth, karibu sana. Salimia the viewers and, talk to our two experts that we have in studio today. Ruth.
So, to say...
Go ahead.
To say I'm glad to be back in the studio. It was a great break.
It's about time.
There.
It was a long break.
But was everybody was on break?
Well, your break was longer.
Oh well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm glad to be back in the studio. And for my first question, what I wanted to ask, actually somebody did ask, so I'm gonna ask Kinyanjui's question. Are we loosely using the term bank here? Question mark. Is Waya a bank or a money transfer platform? And probably talk more about why you decided to go the route of how the company is structured.
Yeah, so thanks so much. Great question again. We are a banking app, and I think we've alluded to our banking partners. So in aspects of just disclosures from a compliance perspective, we are a financial technology company offering banking services that are licensed by our banking partners, Lineage Bank, through, of course, other affiliations with companies like MasterCard, and many others that are working behind the scenes to help us put this together. Like David mentioned, we are a financial technology company legally constituted here, and our banking partners actually allow us to use the word bank because technically we are a bank, right? A digital bank for the African diaspora. So that's it. I think David can answer the other part of the question.
Yeah. So this is on the remittance part of the question, I believe. Was the question? To clarify, it was on the remittance part of the
Yeah. So it was pretty much on why we decided to go the banking route and not the
Gotcha.
And you take
remittance.
deposits, and also I think the question is talk more about why you decide to structure it, not just as a remittances company, but you put the bank part into it.
Gotcha.
As a bank, because there are quite a number of questions, coming here, and I think that's why it's good we have you in studio.
Because me, I'm floating.
Yeah.
This is Japanese and Chinese, but it's all good. It's all good.
We got you.
So let me start it anecdotally, into why we got in this space. we have all, at one time or another, for the vast majority of us, sent money back home, either to Kenya or to wherever it is that we're from. And we asked ourselves, why are people sending that money? Is it so that it can go sit in someone's M-Pesa account? What are the reasons why they're sending that money? And once you start speaking to immigrants, you find out why they're sending the money. You also find out the challenges they have heard sending the money. We've all had fake houses built where you're being sent pictures.
Oh, those have happened.
We have opened.
Those are very popular.
Those are
The opening
issues.
wounds here.
Yeah. So as a family, for myself, collectively, we lost about $100,000
Ouch.
in a transaction that over a few of years where
Ouch, that's a lot of
that
money.
was very expensive in an investment that we were making, and you come to find out that where it was being sent was just really non-existent, and it was a very painful moment for us. And once I got into this and realized we were not the only ones who were experiencing these challenges. So as Hempstone mentioned, we got into this to solve problems that we ourselves experienced. I was buying property in Kenya and sending money, and it would take months to arrive. Sometimes it wouldn't arrive. And so there were this not only challenges from integrity in terms of trust, but then there were challenges within the rails themselves.
Yeah.
So once we started in 2019, we essentially started as purely a remittance company. We wanted to solve this particular problem. But then the more we researched it, we realized that the average immigrant, even though we send money a lot with SendWave or with WorldRemit and with others, maybe 1, twice, maybe 3 times a month for the vast majority of people. And then 2, the immigrant, even though it's a lot, 50 billion to Africa each year, 5 billion to Kenya each year, $630 billion globally in remittance. It's only about 5 to 10% of the total income for the immigrant living in the US. So if someone in the US is making $100, for example, they're sending about 5 to 10 of those dollars back home. So the natural question became, what happens to the remaining 90 to 95% that remains here? How is that being utilized? Are they facing the same challenges that they are facing when it comes to remittances? And with the anecdote that I gave earlier for immigrants and everything else, we found out that the vast majority of people were still undergoing significant problems when it came to banking. And we thought to ourselves, how many banks cater to this particular demographic group? And why can't we have one of our own where we built it with the challenges in place that we experience? So we went around and started asking people, if you could have a bank centered to your specific needs, what would that bank look like?
Okay.
And that's how WAYAPAY came to be. And as we mentioned remittance is just one of the things that we built this digital bank to do, because it was an important element. But there are other things that are coming, whether it's savings, loans, credits, access to mortgages. So these are things that are coming down the line that we wanted to solve for our specific immigrant community. And the more we spoke about this, whether they're individuals or whether they're SMEs, small and medium-term businesses that are owned by African immigrants in the US, you came to find out that the vast majority of them were experiencing these challenges. I won't mention any names, but we're not too far away from Swahili Village. When I was having this conversation with the owner of Swahili Village, he was telling me, you know what, this is what we need, because even though I have a bank that I go to, it is not letting me, fully tap the suite of services that I would want. And it's largely because they don't understand my product offering, and they don't treat me the same way as they treat other Americans, quote unquote, and so these are some of the challenges that we ourselves are experiencing. And that's how the bank came about.
So what I'm hearing from you is that this same bank, beyond just the regular deposits and withdrawal services, it will also be offering loans, investment opportunities and all the other things that the traditional banks we know that do, but now catered specifically for Africans.
Let me put it, when we say access to financial services or financial access and financial inclusion, let me just go back to the immigrant story, particularly for a student.
Yeah.
When you come in as a student here, like a vast majority of us have, you don't know left from right. One of the things that you don't particularly know is how to build your credit in the US. I wish 10, 15 years ago, someone had told me, David, why don't you open this Capital One secured credit card? These are the type of services that we want to be able to offer. So when an immigrant lands here, they're like, hey, look, here's a checking account that you can open without an SSN. On top of that, once you give us $400, we'll open a line of secured credit for you in a credit card and help you build
your credit
and start working with them to aspects so that when it comes to the time when they're graduating and they need other large terms of loans, we say we're there with you. So we walk with you from the very beginning. all the way to the maturity in different aspects of your life, not only for students, but for other aspects.
Now, very interesting. Real quick, like when I first came to the US so many years ago, I remember my first encounter with credit cards was with, I think, Citibank. They were offering them at the community college that I was attending at that particular time. And for some reason, I saw people taking it, and I did not know. I mean, I had an idea, like what a credit card is. Of course, it's money that you're borrowing to pay later. But for some strange reason, when I received my first statement, it was, I think, a 500 limit credit card. It was a small amount. There was that minimum payment that they tell you to pay. So to me, in my mind, I thought that this is what I'm supposed to pay. So that's what I kept paying for a long time. I want to say I did that for a period of, I kept paying that minimum payment for a long time until at some point I decided to pick up the phone because, like it wasn't making sense. And some of the things that I was seeing on it were not making sense. So I think it would have been very useful if I had someone to school me on that, because I ended up losing a lot of money. Yeah, and I want to introduce the rest of the panelists here. We have Uno, who's been in the studio, on the boards, but he also has some burning questions about, like just accessing wire services, and I'm gonna let him ask the question. Uno, twende kazi.
You can't just throw me under the bus like that, boss.
He said he was floating.
You guys are speaking some other language. But I was going to ask, so there's, the standard wave, all these other apps, all these other money remittance, says companies, stuff like that. But if I'm not wrong, you guys still haven't done an app yet. Now, but it's the idea is you go to the web, you go to a browser, you fill in. Why is it that you guys decide to do app later, but
web first, app later?
So thank you. So actually, I may have to mention that our digital banking service has not yet been released. So what we did is, just like David mentioned, is over the last 2.5-3 years, we've been building this with the immigrants in mind. What you see on the WAYAPAY.com website is pretty much our remittance service. And, our digital bank will be purely app-based. So we'll be releasing the app. Like I mentioned, we are currently undergoing penetration tests and vulnerability scanning for us to be able to get the full clearance to roll it out to the users. So we understand that we are in a mobile first world where people want a lot of these services on their fingertips, and so that's why our digital banking app is coming soon to the Play Store and App Store, and we'll be sharing it to the people. We currently have over 15,000 people that have signed up to our wait list, so we're still growing that number. So go to getwire.com, sign up to the wait list so that you'll be the first people to
say that website again.
Getwire.com. So
getwire.com.
Getwire.com. So that,
you have to spell it. Some people will think it is WIRE.
Yeah. So Wire is proudly Kenyan. So it's not Kenyan.
Wire.
Kenyan origin.
It's not wire. It's wire.
Wire.
Kama kula wire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the platform will be app based. Yeah.
Okay. So I see Ruth there also has a question, and Omosh on the other side is also getting ready to give us his review on experience of Wire. But we just wanted to be a bit clear, on the website, because there's that getwire.com and there's another one that we've been seeing, WAYAPAY.com. So how do people access your platform right now?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we currently have a remittance service that we rolled out just to test out the remittances. So we rolled this out in a phased way just to be able to make sure that everything is working well ahead of time. Our main website is getwire.com, where we will pretty much be focused more on the Wire app, which is our banking solution. WAYAPAY Limited Incorporated is our corporate, so it's a company that owns the Wire app and the Wire trademark and all the IP related to Wire. So getwire.com is our website. And just going back to the question that Uno was asking about all the other apps and kind of the difference is, think about us as that bank that you connect to Sendwave, right? So as an example, Sendwave is just a pass-through money remittance platform, so it enables you to just send money back home. But you have to link a bank, right? So what we are is, ideally we are removing that whole aspect of you have to link another bank account for you to send money back home. So if you have money in your Wire account, you'll be able to do whatever that application does to you. Send money to an M-Pesa account, to a bank account in Kenya. And since we understand, we've studied our competition, we're going to be supporting all the banks in Kenya, as an example, all the 3 networks in Kenya. And this is just Kenya that we are talking about. We are working with partners that allow us to settle payments in about 120 countries. It is just that we will be rolling this out periodically to Africa. So we are a bank for the African diaspora, and even other immigrants can be able to open. So as an example, our chief risk and compliance officer is from Laos, came here in the US as as a refugee. So we understand that immigrants across the world have these problems, and beyond that, if you have a Wire account and you get a Wire debit card, you can still use your Wire account and debit card to connect to your Sendwave.
So you can still go to Swahili Village and even buy a meal.
Absolutely,
it's just a regular debit card.
It's a regular debit card, and like David mentioned, we're also working around to bring our users lines of credit cards, loans, and stuff like that. So think about us as a banking partner that is here to address the needs of the diaspora and to take care of the needs of the diaspora. So whatever problems they've been undergoing, opening bank accounts, the long queues, the inefficiencies that come with you sending money to other accounts within the US, the inefficiencies that are here when it comes to me paying Uno, you're able to now do all these services within one ecosystem.
You
that
owe me
takes
money.
care.
I just remembered.
So ideally, let me.
But Ruth, Ruth has a question, and Omosh also gets ready. You'll be up next, Ruth.
I actually have 2 questions. I just want to make sure Kenyan gets his question answered, because he's asked it over time. And I think it's good if our listeners really understand your product. So he's come back to say, really define what you mean by bank. Can you offer, do you receive deposits, do you make loans, do you provide checking and saving account services, all at a profit?
Okay, this thing of matching all deposits on the books, je ne sais pas.
No, we just want to make sure Kenyan. Well, that's what we think.
Kenyan, I'll answer
Kenyan
for you.
Kenyan
Njui.
Yeah.
Not Kenyajui.
Not Kenyan.
Not Kenyan.
Kenyan Njui.
Yeah. I just want to make sure his question is answered. Then I'll ask my question afterwards.
We are the same as pretty much any other bank. Okay, I want to make that categorically clear. In that the same way you can open a checking account at Chase is the same way you can open a checking account at Wire. The same way you can open a savings account at Chase is the same way you can open a savings account at Wire. We offer deposit taking. With our partners, we are a deposit taking institution. We're planning on rolling out services over time in addition to just checking and savings account. And that's where we mentioned the savings and loans and credit. So to answer him correctly, yes, we will be offering the same banking services that any other traditional bank offers. The only difference is that we have plugged in remittances directly to that banking service. Go ahead, Hempstone.
And I'll also add, just to give 5 key features that you get with Wire. So once you open a checking account, you're able to deposit money. You're able to add funds to your account by linking your other external bank accounts into your Wire account. So you're able to fund your account because we don't have physical locations. So you'll be able to add, your other banks, link them via debit card or via Plaid. by linking your cards, the same way you link to your Cash App or Venmo and stuff like that. Once you get in, you're able to get a debit card with your account. So we're giving two forms of cards. So you can apply for a physical card, and you know, you don't have to go pick it up anywhere. It will be delivered to your registered address within 3 to 5 working days. Once you receive your card, you're able to activate it fully digitally within our application. So that's for physical cards. You're able to get virtual cards as well. So think about your typical physical card, but virtually within our app, and you're able to block it. You know, if you feel like it's been compromised, you're able to change PIN and stuff like that. So that's one of the main things. So when it comes to moving money or sending money or transacting, we've built out a very intuitive interface that also gives you 4 key ways of how you can move money. Okay, so I want us to go through that so that people can understand that remittances is just one of the many things that we offer at Wire. So number one is you're able to do a wire-to-wire transfer. So wire-to-wire transfer, for those familiar with M-Pesa, is like an M-Pesa to M-Pesa transfer. So if I'm on Wire, you're on Wire, we can send each other money, right? So you no longer have to worry about, you know, what's your routing number.
So Uno can pay me my debt easily.
Absolutely.
So
Uno,
Uno use a different bank.
Wait for October 1st. It's gonna be instant.
Okay.
All you need is a phone number of you know, of the user you're sending the money to, or you know, the email address, the registered email address, and we are also adding, you know, Wire usernames. So as an example, for many of them that will be the first, you can easily have @Uno as your Wire username.
Okay. You need to reserve that. You need it.
That is more an aspect of Cash App.
Yeah, that's the aspect of Cash App or M-Pesa, or so that's a wire-to-wire transfer. So that ideally why we have that is because we want, as an African-based diaspora bank, we want people to be able to transact within their community in a fast and efficient manner. We're having significant challenges in modern day world. Why should I pay David? And if it's the ACH cut-off time, I have to wait an extra day for him to receive the money. So with Wire, I'm able to pay David, and David can use his debit card to spend you know, money whenever or wherever he wants. So that's number one. Number two, you're able to do what we call an own account transfer. So if you have money, or David has paid me to my Wire account, I'm able to move that money to any bank account that I wish. So let's assume I need to move money to my Chase Bank account. I can move money from my Wire account to my Chase Bank account. So that's on an own account transfer, and this is done via ACH. So we have the same day and next day ACH, depending on the cutoff times, based on the, you know, regulations here in the US. Number three is users are able to do bank transfers. So these are external bank transfers. So let's assume I need to pay my rent and or my mortgage, and it goes to the you know, Bank of America as an example, and I have a balance on my Wire account. I can do an ACH directly to a Bank of America. So this is going to come in handy in terms of people that want to, you know, pay school fees and do any form of external bank accounts domestically within the US. You know, last but not least, users are also able to do an international transfer. So our international transfers, you know, are in two forms. So number one, there's the remittances, you know, which is pretty much an international transfer. So what we've done is now, once you go to the international transfer, we ask you where you want to send money to. So we give you a list of all the countries we support. So you'll have Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and all these others. Like I mentioned, we can settle payments in 120 countries, right? But we're gonna start at home in Africa. So we give you an option of the countries where you want to send money to, and then once you click or choose your country, let's say Kenya, you're able to say, I want to send money to Kenya to a mobile wallet, and then we'll ask you for the recipient information. You know, I want to send money to my mom, my cousin, and whoever else, and then you're able to provide the, you know, mobile number and or bank account details, and you're able to do that. Beyond that, we are also adding what we call value-added services on our international remittances, where you'll be able to also send money, you know, to pay bill numbers. You can send a gift voucher to where, you know, you're sending money for your cousin to go and shop. You don't have to worry that they will go and get their favorite drink in the local joint. You know? You can send them a Naivas voucher worth 10,000 shillings. So what we're saying here is we've taken a lot of time to understand the pain points of a lot of the immigrants, and that's why we are building some of these functionalities. They are based on our own experiences and experiences of over 1,500 people that we've talked to directly. Like, hey, what's your problem? What challenges do you experience? And when you sit in that particular space, you realize that the opportunity cost of losing money sometimes can be as big as you didn't send that gift voucher, so you know that money didn't get to where it needed to go, you know. So that kind of gives a bigger perspective to what users should expect on Wire.
Okay.
That good detail, I would say that.
And I think that also differentiates us from the competitors, because you can't do any of those things on Sendwave. You can't send a gift voucher, you can't send money to a pay bill, you can't. One thing that Hempstone didn't mention is that if you want to pay for your mom's electric bill, you can plug in directly to KPLC from our platform and pay a pay bill and pay people's bills. And so that these things that we're rolling out. So this is one key differentiator between us and other remittance providers when it just comes to the remittance platform, above and beyond the banking interface.
So
Okay,
you
very
just collided
interesting.
with another company that's working on that.
Oh snap!
Another topic for another day.
Okay.
Next question I really want an answer for is the name Wire. Because when I heard about Wire, I went to Apple Store, and there is an app there called Wire. So is that your app? Is it somebody's app? Because then when I went to their website, it's Wire Money. So what's the difference between you two, and why do you have the same name? And have you, do you have copyright to the name Wire itself?
Funny, you want me to answer that, or you want to answer that? Let me answer the trademarking. Let me answer the trademarking part.
Before you do that, I love Mini DJ.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, today we've had to be creative with Ruth. You know, like we'll test her, you know, like her skills on the
my
deck.
DJing skills.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, sorry.
It's interesting. My passion was in DJing, so I did that when I left high school.
Okay.
He can feel it.
So you mean
Maybe
break
we can
time?
do that
You can ingear there and
not
do a thing or two.
I'm not too rusty, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now let's make.
Now
Okay.
let's make it.
All right. Now, Omosh, stay tuned. Omosh, you have company, but Omosh, stay tuned. You're up next.
Okay, David was that.
David.
Yeah, so I'll just deal very quickly with the trademarking issue, and then Hempstone will talk about the differences. So these are two separate companies, the ones that you mentioned. They're just riding on our popularity. In fact, they just started pushing some of these names out. We're trademarked in 142 countries.
What name is trademarked?
WAYAPAY and Wire. So that's what we first did in 2019. So we actually own the trademark, including the country where this other company is registered, which is in the UK. So when it comes to it, that is our particular rail. Now, in terms of the differences, in terms of how the name came about, I'll let Hempstone mention how we came up with the name Wire.
And before you go, you say the trademark names are Wire and Wire App. WAYAPAY.
So we've trademarked all names at least close to what we do in the financial services, and maybe that's also something to mention that a lot of how trademarking works. So like David mentioned, we're trademarked under what we call the WIP, or the World Intellectual Property Organization, through something called the Madrid Protocol. So this is kind of like an organization of, it's an agreement that was signed by over 100, and actually now there are about 150 plus countries, right? So where you can easily trademark across all these countries, so we are trademarked here in the US, in the EU, under the Madrid Protocol. So we've trademarked both, WAYAPAY and the Wire App, So we know of the Wire Money gentleman from Ghana. We know him very well because our lawyers are looking into a lot of
they're
stuff.
discussing with him. The lawyers are discussing with the lawyers.
but generally, once we roll out, also there's stuff that we have lined up, things like the App Store optimization, just to make sure that people don't miss us. I didn't wear my Wire t-shirt, but our logo, for many of you that have seen it, very unique, very good turquoise color, so you won't be able to miss it. And we're coming with a bang, so soon and very soon you'll not be able to see some of those people. So yeah.
Okay, soon or
Okay.
very soon. All right,
no,
good.
It's good to clarify that because I went online. I went to the app store when I heard about Wire because my first thought was like
It's an
everything
app.
is.
And it's
first thought was
important.
everything is on the app, so I thought you guys are already on the app. So when I saw that and I downloaded it,
You're like, it's not it.
It's also red. It's not blue. And I'm
Yeah,
seeing it on the
it's a
website.
whole different. It's a whole different color. Like
Yeah.
we had to have a conversation about that. Anyway, Omosh has been hanging around on the sides. He's on Zoom, and Omosh is actually our subject matter expert on usage because Omosh actually logged in and tested the service. So OmoshFaya, salimia the viewers and talk to us about your experience using Wire. Omosh.
Unfortunately, I think he went to take care of his fishes.
Oh, he went to take care of his fish?
He went to take care of the 2 fishes.
Okay, all right.
So ideally,
So no worries about it. We're gonna get to Omosh a bit later, but like
anapiga backstroke.
all right, okay. I want to remind the listeners that you tuned into the Politics Hour of the OneMic show. Of course, there's no politics today. We're in studio with the co-founders of Wire, Dr. David Wachira and Hempstone Maroria. Later in the hour, we'll be talking about the digital banking services that Wire offers, which of course that we've already talked about some of them in this segment that we have. So want you to keep staying tuned. And then please remember to share our live stream. For those of us who may be listening to us for the first time, please, whether you're listening to us on YouTube or on Facebook, please share the live stream so that all other people who don't know about Wire can get to know about it so that we can start building this this institution. Because guess what? Like people from other parts of the world are doing it. The Asians are doing it. People from South American countries are doing it. So there's no reason why Africans should not do it because we have some very unique needs and actually I'm getting some very interesting points about why I was gonna do things that I could not even imagine you would be able to do.
and I think that was what in our deliberations as a crew, with the Mosh going out there and testing and signing up. And, when we're talking about the digital banking now, that one to me is just Chinese, but I'm thinking digital banking. So are we going to be able to deposit? Do what?
But now, before we go to the digital banking part, first of all, I want you to remind the viewers what we're going to be talking about in the social segment, because we'll still have a social segment.
Social segment.
Yeah.
Of late, in the last 2-3 weeks, all we have been seeing is that the Justice Department,
With a list of people.
Justice Department with a list of names, Kenyans who have been doing a lot of madhogodhanio,
embezzling
like
taxpayers' money,
Medicare fraud,
Racketeering.
then there's a guy who there's a guy who is being extradited, or is it extradited?
Yeah, from Kenya,
From 254 to
being brought back.
yeah.
Is Kenya the new Nigeria? Kenya the new.
Hey,
Slow down, bro. Gane, please.
We still have.
I mean, we still have a long ways to go, but slow down, bro.
Yeah.
That's like Ronaldo and Messi. You compare.
But the key question,
Wash.
we're going to be addressing in the
Wash.
social segment is that there's some people who are asking, is this just ignorance? Do some people not know that what they're doing is illegal, or are they deliberately taking part in organized crime syndicates? That's going to be in the social segment.
Yes.
So want you to stay tuned
Keep
and
it
tell
locked.
us what you think about that. You were talking about digital banking.
Yeah, because because initially when it was first even suggested, first let me give a shout out to Sarah. She said, yeah, but I'm like, that's just like Wave, just sending chums. Okay, we've got some other guys that came, things happened. It's like they just demurred. So when you say digital banking, are we thinking, okay, bank account, are we going to do that? Because deposits, so like the questions that were asked.
Yeah,
That was what
David
what David addressed. Those are the things that we were questioning a lot. Because we would like to do pay bill, but we can't. I don't think there's any platform yet that has provided that ability to do pay bill.
And that pay bill part we've been talking about.
We've been talking about
years.
it because sometimes I just don't want to M-Pesa my brother or my sister, okay, the money, because chances are,
because we know where it's gonna go.
it might go over there, Diani Beach or something, or Diani or whatever. But if you have a pay bill,
Bar next door.
I'm a numero 5.
It seems people up have had experience.
Where?
Numero close.
Yeah, numero close. I'm like, hey, usitume hapo utafuliza. There's fuliza.
No.
But if you, let's say, want to pay school fees for, your niece, your cousin, or whatever, nikuitisha tu pay bill, and you sambaza, na your story, kwisha. If you can actually send it from here. And we have actually questioned, like, is there any service that can be able to do that? We can deposit into banks, yes. We want to be able to submit to a pay bill number.
Yes, because
everything is pay bill.
Yeah, we've had the problem of you have to open a bank account in Kenya, and then now you have to learn, the Kenyan account system. Sometimes it's not. And
to open a bank account, don't you need someone to co-sign for you? That one changed.
No, that changed. Okay. That used to be back in the day.
Omosh's time, back in the Enzis Akina Omosh.
Yeah, that was
the 1950s.
A long time ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So the banks in Kenya actually offering very good services, but if you're used to the American style of banking, you'll still have some learning to do, even just navigating, online. Wanakupatia sijui kitu inaitwa active ID, just logging on, username and password. I think there's a lot of security issues with Kenyan accounts because you have to download another app that constantly gives you a password. Anytime you want to do a fresh login, you have these apps that give you a fresh ID so that you can log back in again. So I think this will be interesting to see what WAYAPAY will come up with, because I think Wire understands the African immigrant here in the United States, especially
the way Hempstone has.
Yes, and I sometimes feel back home they like marketing to us a lot to open accounts, but I feel like they don't quite understand us. Like there was I quickly went and asked for a schedule of fees, in the bank that I'm banking with in Kenya, and I don't think it's a legal requirement in Kenya. Out here in America, when you open a bank account, they're required to actually give you something called a schedule of fees. These are all the possible fees that you could be charged. Not the fees that they're charging you, all the possible fees that you could be charged, be it an overdraft, if there's a minimum balance requirement, like how you're going to be charged. So in Kenya, they told me there are no fees in this account. Then when I go and check, I'm seeing a fees here and a fee and a fee there. So I'm asking, okay, fine, I need to understand these fees, but I got it. It's not a legal requirement in Kenya, so they don't quite understand us. Micah,
I have a question. I don't know if it has been answered, but it just came into my mind right now.
Yeah,
I remember when David was speaking, they were talking about how he was inspired when he was a student, and so I have this question: like, does WAYAPAY? One of the other issues that we've had is sending money from home to here. And I don't know if you explained it. If you explained it, I'm sorry for asking again. I just want to know, is there a way that WAYAPAY makes it simpler for money to come here from back home? Because I've seen you've concentrated about bank accounts here, security here, us remitting money back home. So can you explain how it works for you when you're sending home back money from Kenya up to here and how easy it makes it?
Yeah, so thank you. That's Kinyanjui, yeah?
No, that's Micah.
No, that's Micah.
That's Micah.
Kinyanjui is up.
Kinyanjui,
he has another question.
Right.
Don't worry about Kinyanjui. He has another question. Address Micah's first, and then we're gonna go to Kinyanjui.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, actually, outbound transfers from Kenya, which is pretty much sending money from Kenya to the US, is something that we are looking at, and not even the US. Kenya is, has a lot of trading relationships with countries like China, and people are buying a lot of goods, from China. About 90% of our cars are coming from Japan, and now Singapore is getting, a significant share of cars, especially the German and European cars. So ideally, these are things that we are looking at and are in our product roadmap. And I won't talk much about how we want to implement it because it's going to be very interesting on how we want to enable these outbound transfers. But just in a nutshell, what we are planning to do, and we are talking to our banking partners in Kenya, is to replicate the same model we have here of a digital bank account in Africa. We're talking to one of the largest banks in the continent with presence in about 33 countries, you know. And one of the things that we want to do is the same model we have here where you're able to open a digital bank account in the US. We are going to also bring it to Africa. This is going to come on sometime late next year, where we can now allow people in the African continent to open bank accounts, and they're able to fund their accounts. So ideally, somebody sending you money will no longer be a remittance. It will be pretty much a wire-to-wire transfer, right?
Okay.
Because ideally, if somebody is within the wire ecosystem and they have, say, 5 million shillings in their account, they can easily convert that money into USD within our platform. So we're looking at multi-currency accounts to where even if you're here in the US, you can open a KES account within your wire app, right?
Now, real quick on that before we lose that point, because an aspect that I've seen a lot on your website and in a lot of places where you've been speaking is you're emphasizing on the high fees and high foreign exchange rates on existing services that people currently use. Now, because, you know, like I'm just going to mention Sendwave, for example, they offer their service, you know, like at a certain, I mean, of course, there's no fee per se, but then there's a differential, you know, like on the exchange rate.
Yeah,
a margin
a margin on FX.
Yeah. So what is considered high? You know, because if, for example, I'm seeing the Kenyan shilling is trading at 120, and then I'm being offered by Sendwave 118 shillings. There's a 2 shilling differential. I'm just seeing is as 2 shillings per dollar. So what is actually considered high? Because for some people, that 2 shillings per dollar is
it can
not
be
reasonable.
negligible
Yeah.
Until you start. So we looked at this. One of the main reasons was to bring the cost of sending money down.
Yeah.
So the global average is around 6.8%. So if you're sending
a very high
$100,
amount, yeah.
you're paying $6.84. In Africa, it's significantly much higher, particularly depending on the medium or mode that you're using. So
Yeah.
let's analyze Sendwave because that's a common aspect for it.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is to bring you as a customer as close to the mid-market rate as possible. And when I mean the mid-market rate, I mean what you're seeing on Google as the trading rate. So if the shilling is trading at 120, we want to be as close to that 120 as possible.
Okay.
What Sendwave and others do is they tell you there is no fee, but what they cover there's a cost to sending money. There's a cost to it. They cover that fee through that
The exchange
spread in
rate.
the forex. I mean, so Sendwave, for example, only lets you plug in debit cards, which is one key differentiator, which means that because of that, you have these limits that are placed to you on the debit card, which is why Sendwave you can only send up to $2,099 per single transaction and up to $12,000 per month because there are limits on the debit cards and they have a lot of variety of other things. And the reason why they have that spread is because there's something called an interchange fee, which is a fee that every swipe of that debit card is paid to the debit card issuer, the Visa, the MasterCard, and the bank. So that fee, Sendwave has to cover it, and they cover it in that spread. That's why if you see it at 120, they will give you 117.50. That 2 shillings and 50 cents per dollar is what they use to service that charge plus their profit, because they're not doing this for free. They're not benevolent aspect. Now, imagine you're sending $10,000, which you can't do, but imagine you're sending $10,000.
Yes.
So your exchange rate losses would be 10,000 times that 2 shillings and 50 cents, whatever
Which is
it is.
20,000 shillings.
Yeah. Which means that it's actually costing you roughly 250 shillings to send $10,000. Yeah, $250 to send $10,000, which is a ridiculous amount to pay. Because you can easily wire that money through a bank wire. It will go very slow
For
rails,
$40.
but it will be for $40.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are some of the challenges when we're talking about reducing the fees and actually being very clear. One of the things that you can do right now on our particular our website, getwire.com, is go and actually read in our blogs. And what we want to do is explain financial access to people and saying, you know, why is this fee there, or why are we doing this, and giving people, we believe information is the best way to bring costs down, by letting people know what exactly that they're getting for. And for me, as I mentioned, in terms of the money losses, this is one of the things that we wanted to target, is that we wanted to bring the cost of sending money down as low as possible. So our target, personally, is well below 1%. Right
Below
now,
1%,
we are between
yeah.
1 and 3%, but we
Okay.
hope to be below 1%. And the reason why we're going to be able to do that is the intricacies that we have built by this direct partnerships that you have had Hempstone mention, because we can ride on, we don't have to use third-party intermediaries to move our money,
Yeah.
like Sendwave is doing, is
Yeah.
that we can actually make this on an interbank exchange and have to be getting banks and the players to sit on the same corridor and say, hey, we would want to give you access to Forex. You go to a Kenyan bank and say, want to give you access to Forex. And then you work with them to bring this cost down for the individual.
Yeah, and just to quickly add on to that, and maybe I think I can't insist enough on why we are doing what we are doing, which is pretty much to unlock financial opportunities for a lot of the African immigrants, and by extension, making the world a better place, right? And as an example, for the 50 billion or so that's sent to Africa every other every other year, about $3 billion is lost in fees, right? And that's the combination of that.
Million or billion?
$billion, yeah. Okay, that's lost in FX exchanges and fees, right?
Yeah.
So the more we bring that closer to zero as possible, the more that money can be channeled to other things. So let me put it to perspective. We need about $5 billion to end poverty in Africa, right? If we can just save the $3 billion that is lost in FX fees, we would rely less on foreign aid, right? So ideally for us, and that's why we have a CSR arm through a couple of organizations that we work with, to also be able to give back to the community, because we do what we do not only just to make money, but we want to actually change lives. And by you saving up on that 20,000 shillings, you can support a kid, or you can help build a home for the elderly in Africa, right?
Yeah.
And our people back at home now can start enjoying some of the fruits of these savings that might look very negligible, in the eyes of people that can actually afford it, so
Yeah. Okay. And Ruth has a question, but real quick before we lose this point, because the question that was asked previously was sending money from US to, from Africa to the US. But now here we have a situation where you want to send money from Africa to Africa. That also has been a problem. So I'm also assuming that will also be part of the solutions that.
So
our local ecosystem in Africa, once it's ready, it will be pretty much, to put it in plain language, an M-Pesa for Africa.
Okay.
That does not rely on a network.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Ruth.
Okay, so, wow, I have too many questions right now, but I'm going to ask what I've been asked here. So as somebody who wants to know, without the SSNs as a requirement, because, you just say you can just use passports, but majority of people probably would have SSNs. What are how do you mitigate money laundering?
So good question. So SSNs are not what you use to mitigate money laundering. They're just one of the requirements that banks typically ask for you to open an account. Now, what you have to do, regardless of which bank you're using, including the wire, is that you do have to identify yourself. That's how we mitigate money laundering. What we are saying, what we have told our banking partners, is that there are multiple other ways to identify yourself. Now, if you have seen a social security card in the US, it is not the most secure document.
It's a paper.
It's a piece of paper.
People
Right.
used to get. I know people used to get fake ones. They used to be made.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's very.
I know,
Yeah.
like.
But
hey,
this guy,
I mean, I don't think the feds are
Cheza
listening.
chini,
Oh,
cheza
no.
chini.
Are you serious?
Maralago,
Oh, damn.
they'll be coming to look for Hillary's
But that
documents.
was
yawa.
Kitambo back in those days. Nowadays, people are good.
See this guy, unamwaga tu bachao kwa msala upitao.
The requirement for us is that we just have you, Ali, identify yourself.
Yeah.
And there are multiple other ways to identify yourself. Now, even banks themselves, when you go to a Chase, it's not Chase who's verifying that particular document. They use a third party. And different third parties verify in different ways. So most third parties just focus on the contiguous United States. So you have to be physically present in the United States, and that's what they use. Why? Because it caters to 85% of the population, and most people come to banks. There are multiple other partners who allow you to verify documents that are legal. The same way, if you come in with a passport and they scan it at DHS or whatever, when you come into the airport, how do they know it's real? They don't.
They swipe it, they whatever.
Yeah.
Precisely, and they let you in. So there are other partners that we can use, and what we're doing is we're saying is that as long as you have a legally government-issued document, preferably a passport, and you think of a lot of African immigrants usually coming here through an actual port of entry, so they do have a passport, we can check that passport on actual verifiable databases and open the account that way. For the money laundering aspect, we follow the same procedures that banks will utilize. So when you open a bank account with us or when you remit money with us, we check you against the OFAC checklist or the SDN list. And that's updated daily or weekly or however. And so that's one way. On top of it, we have algorithms built in to mitigate money laundering. So these are the physical reportings that are put in place. So if you're sending more than $10,000, if you're sending small volumes in cash transactions and you're trying to spread them across different ways. So there are a lot of parameters that we have put in, not only within ourselves internally, but also with our partners. So if you're, for example, sending money to Kenya in a system, you're checked twice. You're checked by us on the official OFAC list and the AML list, and then you're checked by our partners as well on that particular one. So and that's done in milliseconds.
And the recipient as well.
Yeah, and we go a step farther. The recipient as well is also checked.
Come on, UDA.
Yeah, just to make sure that we don't get into any money was sent to somebody that was linked to Al-Shabaab. And it's interesting because a lot of these people on these international watch lists, sanction lists, we are able to screen you to where every time you sign up you get a risk rating. So if Ali here, signs up and we get a high risk rating, somebody will be there literally just watching and monitoring your transactions.
Exactly
and
what
we
he's
have
doing, yeah.
monitoring tools that have been built out into our platform. I mean, think about 3 years of hard work, but beyond the hard work is you're launching a digital bank in the most complex market in the world, right? And we've been cleared to do that. So that says a lot.
Okay.
And this is probably maybe coming down the pipe of the cryptocurrency. That's a story for another day.
Yeah, but before we get to you, Micah, too.
Before we go to crypto.
Yeah, before we go to crypto and before we get to you, Micah,
One
just want
second,
to remind
Andrew.
the listeners again that you're tuned into the OneMic show. We're in studio with co-founders of WAYAPAY, Dr. David Wachira and Hempstone Maroria. Now, later in the hour, we'll be talking about remitting, and I think we've already talked about all these things, but want you to still stay tuned. And please remember, share our live stream. Please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube page, and we are also active on Instagram. So please subscribe and keep spreading the word. But Micah, I want to come to you before we continue, and before you ask your question, first of all, tell us, what are we going to be talking about in the sports segment? Because you're sports in a Caribbean. Micah.
Unajua, if we will actually have the sports segment, because we're working on another katalia maneno ya pesa. Anyway,
the Besha.
So we will talk about. We're going to talk the sports segment today. We're going to talk about the suspension of the Celtics, Boston Celtics coach for 1 year, and with pending investigation on whether the organization is going to decide to terminate its contract or not. We're going to compare that to the Phoenix Suns owner, who is currently contemplating selling his franchise. But we're going to compare the two punishments. We're going to discuss about how there were various disciplinary measures meted out to both of them. And also we're going to talk about the decision by the WADA, aka WADA, on their decision not to remove marijuana from the prohibited list. That is what we're going to talk in the sports. And for my question, Ali, actually is, I remember Hampton had actually said earlier on that Wire is looking to provide full banking services, and that's going to be extension of credit facilities to their customers. So I just wanted to figure out how is that going to happen without the Social Security SSNs, or is it going to be, or is this service now going to be meted out depending on the various customers that you have. Those who don't have SSNs are limited to just the deposit or the debit side of the house, and those SSNs are going to be included for the debit side of the house.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So ideally, I mean, when you see ads, is something we say terms and conditions apply. Yeah. So some of these services, of course, we will have to strictly, meet the requirements by the federal government. So some of those, things like credit and mortgages and all that, of course, cannot be offered kind of to some people, but we're continuously trying to see how we can work with different stakeholders to bring more accessibility to all these services. So some of these services will definitely be offered first to the SSN kind of users. So that kind of gives an idea, and all these things, as we roll them out, will be giving the disclosures, the terms of service, the terms and conditions for people to know their eligibility. So it's the same way. Think about it as the same way your bank may have a service, right? But for you to access that service, there are certain requirements that you have to meet for you to be able to access that service.
We're also working on algorithms to help us evaluate credit risk and scoring for people who may not have a credit history, and that's
outside FICO.
Outside FICO. Okay. Outside FICO, and this is utilizing our interface on the app. So think of, and this is Plaid is already doing this. So for example, Plaid can. You can tap into your bank account, and Plaid will tell you your ability to pay simply by them running through your transaction history and determining, do you get income? Are you able to pay the income? Are you able to pay your bills? Those type of things. So these are things that we will try and model by using people actually transaction history to build a credit model outside FICO as we go.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I think we have reconnected with OmoshFaya. OmoshFaya bado hajapata chance hata kusalimia viewers leo, and tell us about your experience. Omosh is one of the people who has actually gone out and used the service, and he has a word or two to say. OmoshFaya, twende kazi.
Barienya munanipokea?
Loud and clear, Omosh.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Karibu daktari, and with money, and I sent money. But the only question I had was the amount of time that it took for the transaction to basically be sent, or should I say from my end to the receiver's end. And then also the form of communication is strictly via email. I'm not sure if you guys would also communicate via text, say, assuming somebody's not checking their emails to know whether the person they sent money to has received the money, or in the case when you guys start the service for pay bills, when the money has hit the account or has hit wherever it is that you're trying to send stuff. So do you guys intend to open that up past sending emails, or is email going to be the only way that there'll be communication between the user and the app, let's say the website, for all intents and purposes? Back to you, studio.
Good question. I'll take a part of that, and the answer to that is it's yes. There'll be multiple mediums. So once you up on the app, we will get the push notifications and the text beyond the email. So you will actually get three forms of communications. You'll get the push notifications from the app itself. You got the text messages with the confirmations, and also the emails as well. I'll let Hempstone chime in as well.
And thank you so much. So you may thank you first for the feedback. So customer service is at the heart of Waya, and we built out a couple of things, and including what we currently have right now. If you go to the website, you're actually able to get live WhatsApp support. this is one of the things that we want to do, and we are already doing. So maybe you may have missed that, but yeah, email is not the only form of customer service that we are looking to support. We've already partnered with Intercom, which is a leading customer service software that will provide us with the live chat, which will be embedded in our application, and you will have live humans kind of supporting you.
No bots.
Yeah, no bots, but automation is key. So you find that for a lot of the questions, you'll find that we will have FAQs and bots that kind of lead you on, to your answer. So as an example, before you talk to a human or somebody picks up the chat, maybe you're asking, hey, how do I reset my password, right? So we're building out some AI tools and machine learning tools that can be able to help enhance our customer experience. Beyond that, we also have WhatsApp support. We know many Kenyans, many Africans, are using WhatsApp. So we've been one of the first consumers of the WhatsApp business API. So we are building out some interesting stuff with that as well to enhance our customer experience as well. And beyond that, we also, doing the call support, which we consider the last mile for us. We want people to get as much support without actually calling. But we also have that is planned out. Just this week we got our kind of like the customer service schedule. So these are the tools that we'll be using to do customer support. But thank you so much for the feedback. Like I said, that's just our remittance plug that we rolled out. Simply because our banking service needed to undergo some level of scrutiny and approvals, but it's great to hear some of that feedback from
Okay.
I've just joined the waiting list myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Getwire.com.
Yeah. And as we get to the wrapping up part right now, because we've gone over time, there's so much to be learned about Wire. We just want to know. People want to know. Like, what's the next point of action? Yeah. Yes.
Next point of action.
Yes. I'll come to you, Micah. But first, I want you, for the people who are tuned in here, where should they go to just get started? There are people who are excited. I can see Ida here is saying, sounds very well thought through. I'm excited to experience this. So what's the first step? That people, where do people need to go to join the platform?
So you need to go to www.getwaya.com. That's GETWAYA.com, and you will just click and join the waitlist. And we are planning on rolling out this to the public in the first week of October, October 1st. And everyone who is on that particular waitlist will get the link directly to the Play Store, where they can go and download the app and immediately sign up and start utilizing it.
Okay, and the app will have all the services available.
So the app will immediately, what we're rolling out is first the checking account services, and then slowly linking the remittance services. This is within the course of a few weeks. And then also adding these other functionalities that we mentioned, that for example, the non-SSN signups, and then eventually this will be now with about 6 months to a year down the road, adding the savings, loans, and credit. So first, we're opening up the personal checking account, linking out to the remittances. We're bringing on business checking, and we're bringing on savings, and then loans and credits, and we'll continue adding the platforms, particularly once we get user feedback.
Okay, progressively. Let's go to Micah first, and then Ruth also has a question as we wrap up. Micah.
My question was simple. How are you accepting investors, and how does one invest in Wire?
Nice. Spoke to my heart.
That's my question.
Yes, we are actually in our current pre-seed round, hopefully planning on closing it within the next month or two. We can share that information if anyone is interested in that. We are actually...
Or talk about it. Go for it. Like at any point,
I am interested.
You're interested.
Yeah. We can always do fundraising.
Yeah, because remember you said people are only sending 5% of their earnings to Kenya, so there's another 95% that's probably sitting here somewhere.
And as you answer that, can you talk about your runway now and why you're going into it? Like, I mean, you have a great big idea. Are you funding it so far, and then go
Yeah,
into
certainly. Okay.
fundraising.
Let's lay out all the laundry then.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Maybe before David goes, I would just want to say
It better be clean laundry.
Very clean. Very clean.
Hatutaki madhokodhanyo.
yeah, great one. Just as David goes into the the investment and all that. Yeah, I mean we've put in our heart and sweat and tears into this over the last 3 years, and it's all because of the good that we want to do for the African immigrants. So actually, started off funding, the company ourselves, and we've gotten a lot of support. First, I would want to just take this to thank our current investors, led by, a lot of the angels that are still working for the company. We got early on, our first investors now have transitioned into full-time staff, in Waya, and I know some of them are listening here. So
You better shout them out.
Yeah, it's what I wanted to add before I pass it to David.
So
thanks.
we started this in 2019, as I mentioned. In April 2019, we met in Westlands, Hempstone and I, and that's how the idea was born. And we immediately put some money together from our own pockets. We were bootstrapped. And then started bringing on angel investors. And then, as Hempstone mentioned, IBM came in and also gave us funding. And that's what has carried on WAYAPAY to where it is now. And then we opened up a pre-seed funding round in around June of this year, raising a $2 million pre-seed, of which we have significant progress towards it. We're about 40 to 50% of the way there on that particular raise, and hoping to close that round, as I mentioned, within the next month and a half. In regards to the runway, we're looking funding for around an 18 to 24 month space.
For some of us who don't understand, when we say runway, we just think of the taxiing, the aeroplane. You're on your runway, tunajua.
It's actually based on that, but you can
Yeah.
go
So
ahead.
for the layman,
Let's actually use that specifically. So
okay.
that model exactly.
Ni
is
kama
just-
vile meli inang'oa nanga.
Yeah.
hiyo na get.
Okay.
So runway is the amount of space you need to take off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so so when we say we are raising for a 2-month runway, we mean that a 2-year runway, and this is what we're looking at, an 18 to 24 month. It means that the fund investments that are coming in, we plan on utilizing that for the next 18 to 24 months. That's our runway, give or take a few things. There's of course assumptions and a lot of things going in there, but so far we have been able to successfully do that, as Hempstone mentioned, through our angel investors, but also through the funds that we ourselves put in, and then external funders like IBM as well. And I have to mention this because this is very unique, and it would be remiss if I didn't say, thus far, with the exception of IBM and a few of our angel investors, I would say about 85% of our investors have been African, and particularly Kenyan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From the
From
diaspora.
the diaspora.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because now the question that
So,
Micah is asking,
yeah.
is how does someone, get in on this before gari la moshi liondoke kituoni?
And before it Malaysia's.
Before
Yeah.
leave
I have 5 bob in a runway.
That's Bush.
Yeah. So you can send us an email. You can actually send it to me. It's Wachira, WACHIRA @wayapay.com, and we will share all these details with you. In aspect of full disclosure, we are taking our minimum investment is $5,000 USD.
Okay.
That's what is the minimum investment now. Now you can
Jason Mwadhani.
the more than you know,
Hallelujah.
you can form an SVP, a special purpose vehicle, which means you don't have to do that all yourself. You can come Muneza Ungana and come together, and but that's just
As
minimum,
one.
as one.
Yeah.
But 5,000 is very
yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. Very
Like
reasonable.
I know somewhere the minimum is 100,000. So
And
5K is very reasonable.
Actually, the thing is, we did this because we had a higher minimum, which started off at about $50,000.
Jesus Christ.
But then,
Ni salary ya mtu.
the more we, like I mentioned, we talked to about 1,500 people just in the course of our journey. And
Yeah.
we started seeing a lot of people. You come and talk to, Ali, and you're telling Ali, hey, we're working on something. We just want to know how you send money. And Ali starts to say, hey, man, I want to be involved, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like David mentioned, we have 85% of our investors being African diaspora. So what does that mean for us? It means that our customers are already buying into our vision, which is very important to us. And just that motivated us to say, hey, wait a minute, we don't need to go to the big sharks. We actually want our people to invest in us because, if you invest in us, then you're gonna buy into our vision and tell people about it, and that's kind of what David is alluding to. And we felt $5,000 is good for us to also be able to at least separate what do you call it, the wheat from the
chaff.
Because you gotta be serious.
Oh, and I may have to also mention
what he
I
said.
may have to also mention that we also conduct our due diligence to any investors. So for those that want to invest, of course you can write to wachira@wayapay.com. We'll request for a non-disclosure agreement signed. We'll do our due diligence because like we mentioned, we are an integrity-led organization, and we also have to do due diligence. So so make sure you're a person of integrity. So
Okay.
To be fair, we have denied money from people who have said, here Tutaki, we want a house of principle.
Yes. So money from suspicious sources.
Money from suspicious sources we will not take.
Yeah. Okay. Sawa hiyo.
Ali, you're in trouble.
Umesikia hiyo hapo. Mi yangu we can account for it.
those people that you guys will be talking about are the next segment.
No, I don't drive a Range Rover. I'm not the one on the panel who drives a Range Rover.
Maybe you're hiding it somewhere.
Mi ni mtu wa Subaru ya Mambaro.
Maybe you're hiding it somewhere. Not on the Range Rover.
Nani amesema Range Rover inakuja na wash.
Anyway, this has been a very informative session. I know there are so many other questions that are coming in.
Swali.
Mazee. Aya, sawa, Omosh, haraka swali yako because
while you're asking that, Omosh, there is also your Sendway foreign exchange rate is way better than bank rate through a foreign bank transfer. I think that is Chinese. I don't know what she means.
No. I think that's a comment from Esther.
Yes,
I think what she means, because I used to work in a bank. I used to work in banks, and I sometimes know the shenanigans that banks do. And make people think. So when you wire money, like from a bank here to a Kenyan account, so there's of course gonna be the wiring fee.
45.
And then there's gonna be an exchange rate. Correct. And that exchange rate is sometimes so mysterious. In fact, when you go to the branch, the rep there will tell you that they can't tell, because what you wanna know is how much money will be delivered, will be arriving on the other end. They will not give you that information. The only person who will give you that information is the person who's receiving it when the money is there. That's when you're gonna realize that rate ilikuwa,
umechapwa sweep.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 shillings, over there
per dollar.
And that's the reason why there was this guy who was being interviewed on the Breakfast Club. For those who watch the Breakfast Club that shoots in New York, he was asked. He asked a simple question: what's the fastest way to send $1 million, like from the US to London? What's the fastest way to do it? If anyone can guess here, what's the fastest way to do it? If anyone can guess, let me also get it.
Chinese na Japanese waongea hapa.
What's the fastest way to do it?
I was gonna say fly with it, but then that's almost illegal.
There you go. That's a correct answer. That's the fastest way in a briefcase. Unfortunately, that's just the fastest way. And that's the reason why people are looking into other options like crypto. And of course, with Africa, Africa presents another layer of complication. Micah.
Squeezing the fastest way is in jewelry. I buy an expensive watch, put it on my wrist, travel, deliver it.
Toboa siri tu. Toboa siri tu.
Ukiwa blocked, ukikatazwa kuinvest, usiseme kukuambia.
Unasikia? Oga. Hash papi NM.
Wewe mtaribia hapa kununua shares.
Ukinyimwa shares, usiseme kukuambia.
Mimi $20 yangu inaweza trackiwa mpaka kwa employer, so I'm not worried.
Okay. And and the good thing, even if we're going to be talking about like these Kenyans who are scamming the government, I think 99.99% of Kenyans out here are on the straight path, and they're making legit money.
Hustler Nation.
Yeah, you know, that's a good thing. I don't know about Hustler Nation.
But unachapa mtu trauma hapa wewe. Wewe unachapa mtu trauma hapa. Sorry, unachapa watu trauma hapa bro.
No worries. Hapana, tume move on. But
Hustler Nation, Hulubaro.
yeah, but yeah.
Sijasema hiyo Ulubaro.
Hapana, no, hapana. David ndo amevaa kala za Azimio.
Wanasema kukutana na Mkenya ukimuuliza what do you do, akwambia man entrepreneur toka mbio.
Ama kwa Kiswahili asema niko biashara tu. You know,
Mimi hustler.
Nikugeria. Aya, sawa. Wa, you know, like we've gone over time. Omosh.
Ali, that question of mine, I have not forgotten where.
Okay, aya, real quick. 30 seconds.
So Daktari, in your opinion, was it worth quitting at the World Bank to get into this?
Hey.
Good question.
Are you still a chauffeur?
Am I still chauffeur? Yeah, I chauffeur all the time. That's something I'm still doing.
No, actually, he used to get tea in meetings.
Yeah, I used to get tea in
he used to
meetings,
get tea at meetings.
I was commenting about an interview where people mistaking for the
It's the same
chauffeur.
thing
but
what you're saying
Yeah.
about the tea.
About the
It's the
tea.
same thing.
sawa.
Yeah.
Oh, you should see that one. You haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
But
it's not.
No, I haven't.
so yes, it was worth it. You know, we've been, as we mentioned, we've been working on this since April 2019. And we've been able to, you know, moonlight, as we call it. Moonlight is when you're, you know, your second job, you're working by the moonlight, you know, for
Side hustle.
for the guy who didn't understand runway.
Yeah, you must explain some of these things.
No, moonlighting I know. Like in moonlighting in the context, najua. Well,
good.
carry on.
Aye.
And so it got to the point where, you know, we believed in this big time. Hempstone joined the team full time, quitting his day job and running. He was running his company in October. I joined in July of this year on a full time capacity. And the reason why is because we believe in this idea so much. We're also young. We are averse to risk like most people, but we wanted this vision to come to fruition. And it meant, you know, knowing when to pass the baton. And I've been at the bank for a decade, the World Bank for a decade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've done significant amount of things, worked across 38 countries. You know, it's been an enjoyable experience, but the sun was setting on that end of my career and it was rising on this particular one. And so it was an easy, smooth transition. And for me, it is still an aspect of development. I'm now just doing it more at the grassroots levels and continuing the same work that I was doing in financial inclusion, but now on my own company.
Okay, asante sana. I think we you know, like
Ali
Thank you, Daktari. Thank you.
hapana hizi maswali sasa. I think we need to call.
Ziandikeni chini.
No.
Write them
I
email.
will reach out to them. I will reach out to them and ask them more
Yes,
about the investment
and I
part
think
of
we
it,
need
but,
we need a part 2. We need a part 2.
No, we
of
have to
this
we have to have a
because-
part 2, especially
Yeah.
like I think when the runway kisha
Yeah.
as you navigate your way out of the inaitwaje?
The runway.
Yeah.
No, before you get to the runway, si mnatoka pale kwa dock.
Aye.
Pale kwa nini guys have
Airport-
boarded, you're
airport
backing
haina dock.
out, boss. You're
Yeah.
you're
This
backing
one,
out.
no, Ali, no,
How
I
did you get here?
actually think that they need to come back before they hit the runway, because not only is it just an opportunity for them bringing out a product, but it's actually a good opportunity for them to get investors.
Yeah.
In like, there's so much that we could go down that investment route and talking about it, but I don't know if you've listened to what they're portraying, if you've listened to what they have already, what they're rolling out, and you're somebody who likes to see growth, somebody who sees, and as somebody who's in the tech world, and just hearing the speak and how they're covering themselves and how they cover the company, the policies, the procedures they're putting in, I would tell you this is a gold mine.
Okay.
I know, I appreciate that
This
vote
is
of
a gold
confidence.
mine.
And we really love it. And I will be remiss if I didn't say, you know, that I do agree with him in terms of the vision that we're trying to do. And let me do it anecdotally, because I love numbers. We started off with a valuation of $1 million. So if we had invested $10,000 when we started off, that $10,000
That was in 2019.
2019
Yeah.
is now worth $150,000
Okay,
because we had a
fafa.
valuation of 15 million, and these are independent evaluations, not like us coming in and
So it started at 1 million. Where is it currently again?
15 million.
15 million.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's way
And
better
we're
than what the stock
anticipating-
market is
yeah.
doing.
We're anticipating, good Lord willing, by that particular runway in 2023, when we come to our next round, will be anywhere between 40 and 60 million.
Tax is the word. Yes, thank you, Slay. When you start tax, before you're taxing.
Yeah, where you're talking about docking and it's an airport.
Hey.
Yeah.
At least somebody understood. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Yeah, with that said, I think this is it. But quickly before we go, Esther Mulusa is asking, in the spirit of the social segment, I'm curious how Dr. Wachira maintained his religious persuasion.
Powerful question.
Powerful question.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Sasa tuko katika
Yeah.
kipindi cha lala salama.
So, there's a Swahili proverb that says, Mocha mile ni mtumwa.
Yes.
And for us, I credit this to my parents. There are a lot of reasons why people may lose their way when they come to this country. And one of the main reasons is assimilation. And this is the aspect of wanting to fit in. My mom told me, David, you have a unique prospect that other people may not realize. That very thing that you're being made fun of at school, that language, that accent that you have, gives you two very different perspectives of viewing things. In that you can stand at the precipice of this country and look at the American system and take all the good that there is. And you can do that for your Kenyan system and take all the good that there is. And you become better off than just someone who has spent their whole entire life in Kenya or someone who has spent their whole entire life in the US. However, when you devalue your loss and you say you'll just pick up the American aspect of it, even that very thing you pick it up is not really yours, because the Americans themselves do not really fully accept you as one of them. However, this key differentiator is what you bring into the table. And so for me, it became a very big aspect of who I am in terms of it. And for me, I didn't think it of anything unique in terms of, the fact that my accomplishments or otherwise, because I fundamentally believe that if you give people the opportunities, the outcomes will be the same. And for me, I live my life saying, hey, the fact that I'm a Mokorino, or the fact that I come from Mount Kenya region, or the fact that I'm this and this, all this quote unquote hindrances that other people have put, I will use those as an opportunity to show that, one, God is no respecter of persons. Two, you can make it despite the low bar that people set for you. And now when I sit at the table with kings and princes or prime ministers or whoever, others are like, hey, hata Mokorino anaweza, I can do it as well. And so that was what for me was, let me empower others through my story.
Haya, hata Mokorino anaweza. Maroria, now give us your parting shot. Maybe you can also tell us something unique about you that nobody knows.
Wow, that's a tough question.
Ask him how much money he made in crypto. You want to know about crypto.
Toboa crypto.
Huyu Hempstone, naona hana vulnerabilities. Naona hana vulnerabilities.
Haya.
The fun stuff about me is that I'm curious, and that has led me to many paths in life, and has led me to be a serial entrepreneur. That the opportunities that I missed kind of in my journey as an entrepreneur are the opportunities I also want to give other young people back at home. So one of the fun stuff I do is actually investing in under 30 founders in Kenya. I'm doing different stuff, whether tech enabled or
the
not.
top 30 under 30.
No, actually
Or
under
just
30.
anyone
So
under 30.
anybody under 30 with a great idea. So we're doing some amazing stuff with people out there.
Where? So Simini ko 29.
Yeah.
Yes.
20 years ago. Now
Yeah,
Moshe atasemaje
so-
sasa? Oh, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so my parting shot is pretty simple. We're here for the African diaspora, and for me and for David and for the WAYAPAY team is to just invite everybody to be part of our journey, to be part of our community, even if it's just clapping for us as we make our strides. So thanks.
All right.
Kuna swali hajajibu ya crypto. How much did you make?
Story for another day.
Story for
I was
another
an
day.
early
Just checking.
adopter. I
Part
was an
two.
early adopter.
Yeah.
Maybe what I can
you-
say is that the most expensive Bitcoin I ever bought was 380.
So you must have gone in very early, and the people who went in very early are still okay.
So how many did you buy roughly?
At some point, I had like 24
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That mathing is mathing.
Yeah. The mathing is mathing.
Yeah, and I got Bitcoin Cash for free when when it started, because you'd buy Bitcoin and then get Bitcoin Cash for free. Ethereum was like $3 anyway.
Story for another.
Hapa
You know,
we harakisha tu, we go off air, need to investigate.
Go ahead.
Hampton, you need to ask on Mike. When the first time we told them we were talking to him, me and my brothers to get onto crypto. That was in 2015. Akacheka akatuambia kwendeni huko. At that time, Bitcoin was going for
possibly 700-800.
It was less than. It wasn't even hundreds yet. It was less than hundreds.
Wow.
And I remember guys were like, "What the, what the F is that?" But anyway, Ali Uyapo is not a big believer of crypto. At least I'm glad he's met somebody else who's made a good investment out of crypto.
The train has already left the station.
Yeah. Huyo jamaa anapenda nini? Ali ni mdogo, anapenda kununua shamba.
No, it's not. No, me kwanza, I don't care about chambas. The only thing about crypto, and not going into this topic, is that my philosophy in investment.
It's very volatile.
If you're holding something for 5 days, be sure you want to hold it for 5 years. Because if you're buying for the purpose of making quick money, whatever it is, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, whatever you're buying, you have to have that capacity to withstand it falling 60% and waiting. To me, any piece of investment that you're buying, I'd actually say, buy something that you're gonna keep for at least 10 years. And the people who did that with crypto are okay. The people who are burning are the Johnny Come Latelys who came in when the trailer was going up.
And they tried to jump.
It wasn't even taxing. Runway ilikuwa ishapanda.
And it came dropping down. People lost 60%, 70%. So those are the people. But the people who are just staying in there, those are okay.
To index funds.
So I would tell people right now, forget crypto. If you want to invest in tech right now, look for something that's metaverse related. Because right now our kids live in the metaverse. If you have a kid, they play Roblox. They play those games that they play, right? They're in the metaverse. They have houses, cows.
Sims.
Sims. They're there. They're living there. That's their lifestyle.
Okay.
If you can invest in any company that does that, in a company like NVIDIA, in a company that any company just deals with the metaverse or anything, you'll make a killing. Lakini ampendangi kutusikia. Wekeni pesa yenu kwa shamba.
Sawa.
Ama WAYAPAY.
Mimi like what Sheke said, I'm a proud index fund, investor, but I also invest in things that I understand. You see, like wire, I've gotten to understand what wire is, so this is something that I can invest in. Anything that I'm struggling to understand, personally, that's not for me. And to me, that's a philosophy of investment I give everyone. If you don't understand the product, like a lot of people who got into crypto did not quite understand, they just saw it going up. They didn't quite understand it. The people were getting banned. The people who understand the product, who were early adopters, they're still in there. They still, have a very big gain on their initial investment, and they're okay.
And that is why he is the C-type.
I mean, just to echo on what Ali's saying, at some point I, sold my crypto because it was purely because, I'm a big tech fanatic, right? And I love the blockchain technology. I've been, I'm, very, very well versed with what's happening in the crypto world. But I think it got a point and people started just looking at crypto as a storage of value. And for me, the volatility can be super, super crazy. And like Ali is saying, a lot of people who are getting into crypto simply because it's a hype, you know? And for me, and I'm not giving people investment advice, but, just like Ali said, invest in things that you understand. And beyond just things that you understand, strive to understand what you're investing in,
Yes.
So,
yeah. All right. Now, with that said, this is it for this hour. I think this is, I don't know whether to call this the politics hours or the politics 2 hours, because we took quite a bit of time, but very good information that we got today. I want to thank the panel for their contribution. And of course, I want to thank our guests. We're going to do this in a second part. Uno, quickly remind the viewers what we're going to be discussing in the social segment.
Kenyans and fraud. And has it become organized crime?
All right. So keep it locked and stay tuned. And please remember, share our live stream, like our Facebook page. To those streaming on YouTube, this is the point when we say goodbye, but you can join us on our Facebook live stream as the show goes on. Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow all our social media handles and keep spreading the word. Mimi ni mtangazaji wenu Ali Badawy, aka Mjukuu wa Masai, and you're still tuned in to the One Mic Show. Uno.
Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, this is still a non-call presentation of the One Mic Show. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that the people's Kamkunji is in full effect. We shall be taking a break. Since Omosh is huko doing fishes and backstrokes, we'll find a song stream somewhere. Keep it locked.
Straight loving, red sun, nine up. Watch me, you need a man to just stand up for you. So sit back, my girl, and let me rap it for you. The world can believe you're my boo. Two are we, I make the perfect couple on crew. But I already know still me got credit.